Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Hello and welcome to Counterviews to Footy JUDGEMO, people. Listen, we have to talk about the lawsuit. Of course, Man City sued the Premier League for discrimination, or for, this is what people say, but actually I went and I read more about it and I don't think it is actually true. They just want to be able to spend and actually get the sponsorships they need or they want. But that's what we're here to talk about. I'm here with a fantastic panel, of course. Good morning, Martin. How are you doing?
I don't know.
You're good? You're good?
Sorry.
Can we get this rule side out? Which one you want? City Mac.
We can actually say you're Marty. Marty's better. And Jamie's here with us. Thank you, Jamie, for being here. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Afternoon.
Yes. And Marty, how are you? Good afternoon. Looking fresh after the vacation, huh?
Yeah, trying.
Yeah. And debut on the channel all the way from Australia. Rich is here with us. Thank you, Rich, for joining us. Appreciate you.
Hello.
Listen, people, if you guys are here, hit that like button, right? Just hit that like button now. It helps the channel massively. It helps the video. If you're watching this now, hit that like button. This is going to be a calm and composed, or that's what we're going to try to do. You know that that's not going to happen, right? Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new after what happened yesterday evening on Rivals Rumble. Of course, completely different. And we're just going to start. If you're watching this on the replay, guys, hit that like button. Let's get to 100 likes right off the bat, people, so we get more people watching. Come on, hit that like button, people. And I want to know what you guys think. Logically, challenge us in the chat. Be respectful. Send your super chat saying if you want us to discuss them, of course. If you have an opinion about it, let us know. And first, so in the beginning, I'm going to try to explain what I understood. And the Man City boys and the other guys can actually correct me if I'm wrong. So the lawsuit is against the Premier League for an unlawful law of the independent committee or whatever company is used to actually determine the value of a sponsorship. So basically, the Premier League, if Man City or Jamie or myself or anybody or any club in the Premier League have a sponsorship deal or a marketing deal, whatever deal, commercial deal, the Premier League have the right to actually make sure it's fair market value. Man City, what I understood is that Man City don't want that law. They think that that law is illegal, is unlawful, and they don't want that to happen. Did I get this correctly? Is that how we understand this lawsuit? It has nothing to do with the 115 charges. It has nothing to do with what happened before 2021. That law came in the picture in 2021, and Man City think that that law is against them because they are Arabs, them and Newcastle, because of the royal families and all the stuff in Saudi Arabia and in the Emirates. Man City think it's unlawful for someone to determine the value of a commercial deal. Did I get that right?
Brother, yeah, it's October 21, I think, the Premier League rushed in rules voted on, obviously, by the clubs. And I think actually only Newcastle Newcastle and City were about the only teams who didn't vote for it. And I think one abstained, one voted against. And it was actually aimed at Newcastle because it was a fear that they would use probably the Saudi clubs particularly, but also Saudi companies to sponsor huge amounts so that they could quickly beat financial fair play, which would have held them back. So it's actually really the rules that were brought in for Newcastle that City are testing. It's actually arbitration it's going to. So effectively it will go to, an arbitration with City's lawyers, the Premier League lawyers and the parties, which I assume will be most likely judges or barristers, to actually test and discuss, whether it is something that has legal merit or where it doesn't. On the surface, nothing to do with the 115 charges, but obviously there are implications depending on what the answer is. If for example, if it is seen that the laws of the Premier League and this is okay, then that would shut down that argument from City or anyone else. Equally, if it's found the Premier League rules are breaching UK competition law, then they're going to go, and then that has much bigger implications if the law's been broken. The testing, City have also cited it, but I don't think it's the main part, that they don't view that the one, I think it's Nielsen who do the testing for Premier League on sponsorship value, which is based on their software, which measures the value of sponsorship, much like monetizing YouTube, but on a much, much, much bigger scale. And that is being challenged by City because, they are one company who can value sponsorship, but the big four, most of the big consultancies and big legal firms do that as well. And City are probably suggesting that they should be using a number of parties to assess what fair value is.
So they don't want to remove it. They just want different parties to assess it.
I think they want to test whether it's legal as well. It looks from the articles in the Times that City want to test whether the Premier League is actually breaking competition law with some of these restrictions.
But isn't
Yeah,
it?
there's a misconception there. People are saying City are saying the law's wrong. No, City are saying the rule in the Premier League is not lawful.
Yeah, it's not compatible with
This
British
is where
law.
people are misconstruing this. We're not arguing. We're saying the rule that was put into place is not UK competition law following. This is where people are getting confused.
Yeah, but isn't that, Martin, doesn't that mean that Man City want the sponsors to be like just not evaluated? Like basically Emirates and Saudi Arabia are very
Yes,
rich.
City want an independent regulator. We were the ones who wanted the independent regulator. What we're saying is we don't want this fault. This is why I used my point yesterday about the hunting analogy. People didn't understand it. You can vote whenever you want. People forget the Premier League is a private members club. Put any rules in you want. Now, are those rules lawful? I don't know. Like I said, hunting club, go and hunt Bengal tigers.
Yeah, but I'm sorry,
you
but
got a rule, go and do it.
yeah, okay. But we know, but I know, I'm Arab, right? We know, and Martin and Jamie here, kid, if you guys know, I know that the Etihad and Abu Dhabi and all the people there and the people in Saudi Arabia, this is a kingdom, the kind of a kingdom in Emirates. It's different than Saudi Arabia. But basically, anybody can just go sponsor any club, right? In Emirates. For example, I'm just going to use Saudi Arabia. His cousin can sponsor Newcastle for 100 million, right? And say, I want 100 million sponsorship deal. And instead of actually the fair market value is 20. And because it's all connected, it's not commercial based in Saudi Arabia, that will be not fair competition. Because Arsenal at the end, or Man United, or whatever, they're owned by people, but these people aren't royal families. There is audits against them. In Saudi Arabia and in Emirates, we know that the royal family can buy whatever they want. It's their money, basically. Of course, there are rules and stuff like this. But basically, in Emirates, Sheikh Mansour can go to his cousin or can go to someone, whoever runs whatever, and say, we are short of 50 million this season. We want a new sponsorship deal for 50 million. If that sponsorship deal commercially is evaluated at 10 or 20, Man City want this removed. Man City don't want that. That means it's not fair competition. Unless I'm understanding this wrong.
I think those are fair points, but they're not that different to half of European football. I mean, Bayern Munich have their kit made by one of the companies who own them. The stadium sponsored by one of the companies who part own them. They have, complete overlap. You've seen it with Leicester being sponsored by their owner directly, not even via a third party. I mean, it's not, you've seen Real Madrid being able to sell their ground nominally valued at a relatively small amount for about 6 times to the local government. I mean, so football is littered for its entire history with such things. I think where it came to the thing on the Gulf is that clearly the article suggests that one of the other Premier League CEOs said at one of the Premier League meetings, essentially, we've got to stop the golf. Now, that will then be used by City's lawyers to say, well, actually, there is a deliberate, plan to change rules to stymie competition aimed at one particular group. So I think because we know that's true about, the sovereign wealth funds ultimately get owned by sovereign families, that doesn't actually make that either a legal between companies or a related party issue in legal terms. And secondly, I still go back to the point where we watch sport because 20 teams should be able to compete equally. And at the moment, the Premier League has a system which is the opposite of the Grand National. In the Grand National, if you're the best horse, you carry a heavier weight to slow you down to make the race equal. In the Premier League, if you're the richest team, you're allowed to spend 4 times as much as the worst team, because what the Premier League seeks to do is actually make, and this is because of Champions League money, to make the gap bigger. So next season, City will start the season able to spend over 4 times as much as the clubs who've come up from the Championship. There is nothing they can do to spend, because if they try and spend to compete with City or United or Arsenal, they will be fined and deduct points and relegated again. So we're effectively setting up a league to just allow the same clubs to get Champions League football every year. That now benefits City, but it's effectively trying to make it a closed shop and never allow competition. Because if you're Aston Villa or you're Newcastle and you want to compete with those top clubs, you will effectively have to sell your players, or 1 or 2 players, to the top clubs, be that Bruno Guimaraes or, Ollie Watkins or whatever. They will have to sell to meet the rules. Who will buy? The top 4 clubs who've got more money. And you are just
Why I understood it
embedding
the other way, Rich? I'm sorry. Why did I understand it the other way? If you have a way, but that's going to the wage cap and stuff. That's a different story.
It's the whole basis of financial fair play.
Don't you think that's
to make the
incredibly
rich
cheeky,
clubs
though?
richer.
Like from Man City, who just won 6 out of the last 7. And there's other sports like this, right? Like F1, where you win and the prize money goes to the biggest team historically, like Ferrari, even if they're like 3rd or 4th. Like there's all these arrangements within the league to like.
Which I'm saying there's 2 ways you do sport. One, like the Olympics, 8 people run a race in exactly the same conditions. They can spend what they want. Obviously, if you're an American athlete, you might have better training than if you're a Greek athlete, but you compete equally. Or you have the American model or the salary cap model, where you actually seek through drafts or through salary caps or through other rules to make the competition even. And what the Premier League is doing is and football's doing it, is the exact opposite of every other way. What they're doing is trying to make the richer clubs richer and give them a head start. And so all you're doing is widening competition. You look across European leagues, how few leagues now have any change in who wins.
I'm sorry, I'm really understanding this the other way. It's actually the other way around. And I don't want to go into this now, like the salary cap. It's actually the other way around, Rich. The way I am seeing it, if they are limiting the likes of Arsenal, Man City, and these guys to have a wage cap of the lowest team, I think they're making the competition better. Because if they make it to the top team, but that's the salary cap thing.
If they pull back the top clubs and actually make the salary caps like PSR, that, like they're talking about next year, anchoring it, that will be the first thing the Premier League has done to try and bring some equality. Everything done so far is to try and make the richer clubs richer and the poorer clubs poorer.
But if
it's not been intentionally like that, though. It's just a byproduct of the Premier League.
But hold on, I want to go back to the lawsuit. Go ahead. But the lawsuit,
it's a byproduct of the sporting competition since its inception. The winning team gets the most prize money. They go to choose the best players. They go on, and that's how we had Manchester United dominance for all the 90s.
Yes, but until about 2011, Jack Walker could come and invest and make a team that could compete. John Hall could invest and make a team that compete. I don't know if, I mean, you know, we're
Don't
all
you think
a bit
that's
young
really
for
hard
this,
for everyone else to swallow though? Because
but-
Man City
but
spend unlimited funds, and
but
no one else
football,
can.
they did for over a century. They did. Liverpool, when they became a great club with Bill Shankly, signed Ron Yates and Ian St John for 50% of the British record transfer fee at the time. So equivalent of 50, 60 million today as a championship side in the second tier. Liverpool became great off the back of that investment to do that. Arsenal in 1930 or 1928 and 29 broke the transfer record twice to become Herbert Chapman's great Arsenal team. Ferguson broke the British transfer record 6 times to make United good. That has been a part of football back to Sunderland being called the Bank of England club. It's always been football until
but the
15
differences
years
between
ago.
the bottom clubs and the monster clubs now are like, it's chalk and cheese to the 1930s. We're talking about 100 years ago, right? This is just a smokescreen by Man
that's
City.
because
It's
of
like to
FFP.
throw lawyers
No.
in this situation.
I want to go back, Rich. I want
FFP
to
that's done that.
It's very
guys. I want to go back, guys. I think this talk to a different. The thing about, I don't want to go back to the lawsuit. The thing about the lawsuit is that, Rich, I hear what you're saying about Bayern Munich and everything. You guys, some of the people don't want to comprehend this one idea. There is a massive difference between all the companies in the world and, for example, the Brunei people, Emirates people, Kuwait people, Saudi people. You guys have to understand that even if the company that sponsors Bayern Munich, it's a company, there are shares, there are audits, there are stuff, right? There are stuff that limits and that regulate the spending of all the companies. For the Saudi people and the Emirati people and the kingdoms, and you can ask any Arab person about this, these guys have a lot of money. Of course, it's not unlimited. There are audits and there are stuff internally on them. But for example, the Saudis have so much money that they can literally, if they are allowed to, they will literally outspend everyone by 10 times. And that will not be a competition. And the way they actually can comply with that is that by sponsorship deals, because sponsorship deals are included in your financial, for example, your income. Like, I'm not a financial analyst, but all I know is that there is revenue and there are spendings, right? This is how you calculate in your, and I'm trying to make it as simple as to every viewer. There is your income, your wage, your salary, and there is your spending. PSR, FFP, all of this stuff is calculate the difference and see if you are within the limit or not. Simple as that, right? I can inflate my income by having my cousin give me 100 million pounds or dollars or euros or whatever without any regulation, because I can say, my cousin sponsor me, right? Buy this. Let's example, I'm buying this cup of coffee. If I have a cousin and I want an income of $100, I can go to my cousin and say, give me $100. I'll write you a paper that this is worth $100. Well, Martin doesn't have a cousin like this, or Jamie doesn't have a cousin like this. They can say, hold on, we have the same cup, but we can only sell it for $5. That's our income. But Man City can sell this for $100 because they have a very rich cousin that have no audit on him. The Saudis can do this. And that is not fair competition. I don't know how you guys don't see it this way. I'm being honest here. I'm neutral.
Yeah, well, I mean, at the
club.
moment, City haven't been able to do that. City have had, you know, and the Champions League rules force fair value testing. So if you go back to 2014, City had all their sponsors tested by 2 major companies. 2 of our sponsors were actually, you know, effectively deemed to be overvalued, and we were made by UEFA to freeze those sponsorships. And I think eventually we dropped those sponsorships. So there is, I mean, there at the moment, everything has been at fair value. And the issue, you know, today, that doesn't really affect City because as 6 times winner, you know, winners recently 8 times, you know, in the last few years of the Premier League, and treble winners, you know, and the most watched team in some of the biggest markets in the world now, the most watched team in the US. And in fact, City's Champions League final was the most watched Champions League final out of the last 7. So City now have the data and the companies to back up very high values on the sponsors. Newcastle, on the other hand, are, I think, getting sponsorship on about a quarter of the other clubs in the Premier League. So it's interesting that City are litigating on something that appears to be far more in the interests of Newcastle and potentially Chelsea than it is necessarily in the interests of City at the moment, because City could have spent a fair bit more the last few years, but they have focused on actually getting some profit, because they want a sustainable business, not just bigger ones. So
can I ask?
I want to ask a simple question. Don't you think, and Marty as well, please, if Man City are fighting this law, you guys are saying we have been fairly assessed, like, not you guys, the deals have been fairly assessed, right? If Man City are fighting it, doesn't that give an indication that you don't want that and you're about, like, and I said that yesterday, if someone tells me, if I go tomorrow and tell the law it's illegal to prosecute me if I steal something from the shop, doesn't that mean I want to go and steal something from the shop?
No, you're putting two up with 2005 there. Listen, the one thing we need to get right, and I've said this 1,000 times, this has nothing to do with the 115 issue.
No, this has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the sponsorship deal, Marty.
You're being clever. You're saying you've done
I am
this.
clever. I'm not being clever. I am clever.
Yeah, all right, lad. But I know what you're doing. You're twisting around.
I am not twisting. I swear to God, Martin, I swear on my father's grave, I am not being cheeky or anything today. I am not. I'm genuinely asking questions that people ask. If you are fighting the law, does that mean you don't agree with the law, that you want to do what this law is against? If I'm fighting,
I'll tell you what it is. The Premier League is a private members club. Said this 3,000 times.
Okay.
And what we are saying is, and by the way, it's not just us anymore. There are other clubs that are coming out. We've got a witness into this and everything else. People laugh about it. The league has been run by a number of clubs for a number of years, for a very long time.
I think this is an illusion.
No, shut up. This is not. Listen, you're not going to like it because it's not what you want to hear.
I haven't said anything for the first half an hour. You guys have just been running defense.
Well, I've not said anything for 30 minutes.
Okay, so for the next 30 minutes, it's Martin and Marty.
No, I'm just saying I've not said anything.
I think Jamie wants to say something too.
It's a private members club.
Jamie wants to ask a question.
Am I right?
Go ahead, Marty.
Is the Premier League not a private members club? Am I right or am I wrong?
Well, can you explain what does that mean? Like, it's run by the clubs. At the end, the clubs run the Premier League. Yes, everything is voted by the 20
Richard
clubs.
Masters is a puppet. Everyone thinks Richard Masters is the guy in charge. No, he does what the other 20 members tell him to do.
But you can get promoted and relegated. Like, it's voted on by the club.
So they get a voting right, Martin. They get a voting right. They get a voting right.
Yeah.
This is what you're all talking like you're coming into a league and the league dictates what goes on. You don't. The clubs do. And this is what City is saying. This is what City wanted, the independent regulator, 18 months ago. We voted on the white paper that was coming out. They didn't want it. That's why Richard Masters, when he went into that government meeting, wormed away like a little worm that he is, when the UK government were telling him, where's the independent regulator? Where's the independent regulator? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? And he squirmed his way around it, wouldn't get anywhere near it, just wanted to slag clubs off, call them little clubs like Everton and Forest. So the simple fact of this is, what we're saying is we don't want that anymore. We want this. It's not following UK laws. Coming up with
it's
rules
decided by the participants.
We'll find that out.
Isn't it better to have it decided by the participants? Because an independent regulator can be purchased.
Twist everything.
No, I mean, these are the people that the rules are affecting. And if you can convince a majority of clubs, you can change any rule. So I think it's crazy that City are using this like wolf in sheep.
I think it's crazy.
Wait, let me learn.
Newcastle, when it came to the January window and they could go to Saudi Arabia and buy some players with the money that they've got, all the clubs went into a vote mid-season and went, no, that can't happen. How's that fair?
Because they were worried about being able to loan
Worried about
players that
Newcastle
Saudi were
with-
purchasing off anyone. I think that there's loopholes in the system that Man City and Chelsea exploit all the time, and the Premier League is trying to find ways to stop them from spending ridiculous amounts of money completely unchecked. And Man City want to have this, like, I can decide how much my sponsors give me money, and then they're using it as if they're protecting small clubs' interests when you've just won 6 out of the last 7 Premier Leagues. There's an issue, and it happens to a lot of sports where like clubs or companies become too big, especially in football. We've seen corruption at every level. I have no faith in an independent regulator not being bought out by someone to make decisions that are favorable to one team. There's just so much money involved that the only way to keep it any kind of way fair is to use the clubs to actually decide the rules. That way you need a majority of clubs to agree to it. Otherwise, it's going to benefit one team or another.
Can I ask? So in Manchester City's claim in all this, they also argue that the way the current rules are at the moment, their ability to buy the best players and force them to charge fans for more tickets. They also go on to say that they have to cut spending on youth development, women's football, and community programs. So if this rule stays, Man City say they will not be able to afford the best players, finance community programs, develop the women's game, and spend on youth. So are Man City more broke than we think? Because even with them rules applied, shouldn't Man City, with their wealth, still be able to carry on paying for the best players, developing the best youth, developing the women's game?
It depends. It depends whether you believe what City's owners have said, that they want a sustainable self-funding club, and that's the whole club, including those elements, or whether you believe that they want to be injecting more money in. I would suggest on the last 5 years, City have held back, and I think we're 9th in net spend in the last 5 seasons now, because we did our spending to get to where we needed to get to, mainly prior to 2013, and then again a jump in at the start of Pep, in that first 12 months Pep was in. But since then, I've actually spent, considerably less, about a third net of our rivals across town in Salford. We spent half what Arsenal has spent over the last 5 seasons net. Now, we started from a base that was higher. I accept that, because...
And you guys have a sister club system that feeds you players. Like you can find a player to Troyes and loan him to Genoa, and then he can be with you guys next season or whatever. It's not fair for the other clubs that don't have multi-clubs.
Well,
right? This is how I see football.
Half the Premier League do now. I think about 8 Premier League
clubs.
Half
the Premier League do, but only the real rich ones.
The problem is, I think the problem is here. City,
let me get Jamie. Jamie, go ahead, Jamie.
City took the advantage before everyone else did years ago, right? That's what City did. So everyone's playing catch up. I can't blame City for taking advantage of something that's there to take advantage of, and they took advantage of that situation, and they're ahead of everyone else in the game at the moment, right? But in my way, football should be built on a safe, self-sustainable model. That's how football should be built on. So if Man City have got £500 million to spend, and they're allowed to spend 500 million, they should be allowed to spend 500 million. If Aston Villa have got 250, 300 million to spend, they should be allowed to spend it. There shouldn't be a cap on anything, in my opinion, because it should be self-sustainable. If Liverpool are raking in 600 million a year, they should be at least to spend 50% of that. That's the way. If football should be built on self-sustainable build, that's how it should be built on. If Newcastle got the wealthiest owners in the world, and they can show the finances that are all perfectly fine, that we can spend this and spend that and bring in money as well, then they should be allowed to spend it. We should have all these rules in place. But the problem with football today, and this is my opinion, the Premier League is corrupt. The Premier League do not want to show their books. That's why they don't want anyone to get involved. That's why they didn't want government to get involved. That's why Masters, when he went to that meeting, stayed very quiet, because he didn't want them to look at the Premier League books. Football is corrupt. I don't care what people say. It's a corrupt sport. It just is, right? And
Yeah, I mean,
for
it has
me,
been since the 1860s.
exactly.
You know,
And I just feel like if my issue is though, if City get their way in this, and this is not me coming at Man City in any kind of way, I don't really care about this, but if City get the way what they want, I just got a feeling it might shake the foundations of English football, and teams might start to pull out the Premier League and make their own league. I
Actually,
think that could
City
happen.
just threatened to go to the Super League. That's what I just read
Yeah.
Did
2
it?
hours ago. 2
no, I
hours
don't
ago.
think. No, I
See,
don't
see,
think
did
so.
Is
this
that not true, though?
No,
Is that not
no,
true?
some journalists have speculated on it, but it's
But
not
you
from
see, you saw the
City.
articles. There's
Yeah.
about like
Yeah,
5
it's
of
just-
them.
Yeah.
Within
Yeah,
1
that-
hour,
yeah.
I woke up and there was 1 hour.
I don't know where
5
City
articles were written about Man City threatening to leave the Premier League to go to the. I don't believe it because I think City built a history in the Premier League now. They built a big castle. There is no reason for them to leave.
Manchester City would have found a member of the Premier League. I know everyone thinks we've been sat down in Division 2, since 1901, and we've never moved. But City City would have found a member of this.
I see.
I think, Martin. I think we got relegated in 1902. So
Yeah.
it's about
Probably.
year to year.
All I know that
to be honest with you,
we won an FA Cup before Arsenal became Arsenal.
I have a very, I think, unique opinion about this. But before I do that, guys, there's over 700 of you here, and only 150 of you hit that like button. I am sure we can definitely get to 350 likes live. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. This is a calm show. We're trying to. I'm really here trying to be educated, right, on the matter, but also give an opinion, because the way I'm seeing it from outside, right, the way I'm seeing it from outside is that. Forget the 115 charges. That's a different story, because the opinion for me about this is that Man City probably, you might overpaid here and there to build the club, but now Man City are literally trying to twist the arm of the.
Stop saying that.
This is my opinion.
No, yeah, it's your opinion, but
this is an independent YouTube channel, and I'm not against it, by the way.
But
No hate Arabs.
looking at factual, legal documentation as well. That was proved at CAS.
Okay.
So let's not do that. Come on.
I don't. I
Can I finish my point about this?
Yeah.
But the way I'm seeing this lawsuit at the current moment, right, is that Man City are trying to twist the arm of the Premier League. You know what? You twist my arm, I'm gonna twist your arm. What are you gonna do? I'm gonna do something else for you.
This
is how I'm seeing it now.
It's a
from
battle.
Outside.
Like,
and by the way,
head.
it's this logical thing. Like, just looking at it from outside, if Rich here is sitting and telling me that everything has been assessed, we're assessed right, our sponsorship deals are not inflated and everything, why you're and it's for Newcastle, why you're fighting Newcastle battle right now? Why you're fighting Newcastle? Why are Man City? Is it because the Arabs are together? By the way, I don't believe that, but there is no reason for Man City to fight Newcastle battle.
Could be, well, I don't think that's strictly true. I think there are some reasons. I think City are, I think there's, and I certainly felt this when I was in the UAE last year, talking to a number of business people there, that there is a feeling among many people that this is, a bit of an outrageous attack on the UAE and Saudi, etc. So there is a bit of a feeling of indignation on that. I think there is, so there may be a little bit of wanting to start to get back. I honestly think the main driver for this happening now is that for years and years and years, Richard Scudamore had a very tight rein on the clubs in the Premier League and had, in most cases, 17, 18 clubs voting together on things. I think the closest he got was the original FFP, where 6 clubs voted against it. So clubs like Villa and Swansea and, voted with City against it, but 14. The last vote they brought to the Premier League got 11 votes. Scudamore never took anything to vote if he wasn't going to get a majority. And there's been a big shift in some of the clubs. Ratcliffe doesn't want to be held back by financial fair play like the Glazers, because he's 70 odd. He wants glory. So he wants glory for United, not a profit stream. And fundamentally what is happening in the Premier League is that you have owners who are owning the clubs for glory. Now, whether that's the glory of their nation or whether that's the glory of winning stuff like Abramovich and protect themselves, but they're in it to win stuff, and money's
Yes.
not primary.
100%.
Then you've got clubs like the Glazers were at United, but they've now, seem to have given up everything
Yes.
to the minority owner. Arsenal and Liverpool and FSG particularly want to make a profit. So you've got the American sports model of a pretty much guaranteed good profit every year, and most of the, huge amount of profit in American sport compared to anywhere else in the world. And that is competing against clubs like Newcastle, Chelsea, City, possibly Villa, who are not in it to make money. They're in it to, to win stuff. Whether you want to go sports washing route or the glory route or the protecting yourself from, being prosecuted if you're Abramovich route, there's this desire for glory, and those two things going head to head is a big problem, because inherently, if you want to guarantee,
don't you think there's also an issue that like clubs like Arsenal and Liverpool have tried to stay within the rules? Like, I think we went 12 years spending a net spend of $20 million because we were paying for a stadium. I know that Liverpool, I mean, you can say the US owners are in it for a profit, but they want to win. The Cronkies have shown that they want to win everything that they own. So they're trying to do it in a way that's self-sustainable, while these other clubs who have no jeopardy can buy any players they want and not.
And that's my point. That's my point, because Arsenal and Liverpool fundamentally are business investments. Same with Spurs. Spurs have probably done this in the smartest way. You can't boil it down to
just a business investment.
City's owners at the end of the day.
Can I clarify something for everyone here?
Don't care about profit. They just care about winning.
By the way, football is not a profitable business. We all know that, right? It's the profit margins are very small in the grand scheme of things. Like, for example, Man City make about 800 million. At the end, the profit for that does not pass about 80 million.
The value comes from the league increasing in value.
Yes, the value comes from other things. Money-wise, FSG, the dividend, if people don't understand what it is, basically the profit. The difference between Liverpool's money, people think the FSG take 200, 300 million. There is salaries that go to CEOs and the owners and stuff like this. But people think that they make £500 million a year, FSG, Liverpool. That doesn't happen. The profit are very small. Right,
but they try to avoid losing money, and that's
so they would rather make £1 than lose 10.
Because it's an investment.
But because Rich, there's a misconception in the world from the average people, and I wasn't educated about this until I actually listened to a whole hour of a podcast of someone that is a sports financial advisor that did a podcast here. I listened to it somewhere on YouTube. And they explained by the money how football is not a profitable business. If you're an owner of a football club, you don't make a lot of money.
It's only profitable if you sell it. It's only profitable if you sell it.
And it never has been. It never has been. I mean,
because the expenses and the players' wages and the expenses you expend is so much. The profit, like Man United had a profit margin one quarter, 7 million. What is 7 million for the Glazers family? That's nothing, basically.
But Mo, that's like that in all the Premier League right now. You've got all the owners, in my opinion, that would rather make a profit than win something. Like Brighton, a couple of months ago, were like doing happy dances about how much profit they made this annual calendar year, but they don't win anything. So they're more happy about making a profit than actually winning something. And
but
for me,
making a profit in the PSR system like FFP gives you the ability to purchase stuff
to the other point,
right?
The other point, can I just say the other point is, on the other hand, people like Abramovich, people like Sheikh Mansour, Mohammed bin Salman, these guys literally, you can call it whatever you want. They're in it to win more first,
about profit,
and then the money and the value and all that. But winning makes the value of the club more automatically. So that's how they see it. I know that because I look at how Khaldoon talks. I look at how the people talk. They want to win. They actually will go arm and a length to win. At the end, they want to win. While
I think the Glazers were different, Mo. The Glazers,
FSG, they were like
because the Glazers didn't put any money in.
And
they basically bought the club on the back of it. They bought the club like you buy an house on a mortgage, and used Old Trafford as the mortgage.
But to be honest, City are
30 million out a year. So the Glazers were in it for money. They weren't in it to win.
Man City makes so much. That's the difference. Like Sheikh Mansour isn't there to increase the valuation of Man City from the 250 million he bought it for to 10 million to sell it. They're not in it for that. This
No.
10 billion pound is not what the aim.
They're in it for
the goal.
prestige and influence.
The
Like, and I think
prestige,
the
you
other
can
thing
call
we
it
don't talk
sports
about,
washing, you
the
know
other
that.
things we don't talk about is the political side. Once you start having states owning football clubs in the Premier League,
They're not owned by
is
state.
that what's that?
I want him to finish because I want to
No,
understand.
but don't say we're owned by state when we're not. Come on. Stop
Well,
this.
I'm not just talking about Man City. This isn't a thing where you guys have to defend Man City all the time, because it's nothing against Man City fans. I don't begrudge you guys' success. It's just that you are the guys we have to debate with about this when it looks like the sport's being ruined in front
You
of
are the
our eyes.
people in front of me. There is nobody else.
No, but
Yeah,
like
but-
when you've got
but
weapons
why
deals.
is the sport?
Well, they
Well,
work with Arsenal.
Okay, hold on. You're gonna go, if you're gonna
It's
go into
not-
the politics,
Shit,
Martin.
we
There is one
upset
more
the
thing,
cartel.
Martin. There's one
Yeah.
thing. The UK government and the UAE government are in very good terms.
Yeah, but that's why they don't want to see bad things happen, and weapons deals and all these other things that connected to the Premier League and like transfers of players. So it's kind of a ridiculous situation. It's PSG.
I think that goes
it's like
against the
all-
logic, Martin.
What's that?
That goes against the logic. If the
The-
relation is very good, why would the Premier League go against Man City?
Because the relationship could get sour if we start taking points off Man City and relegating them, and then the UAE is like, "Well, we're not going to buy 300 million in weapons off you guys."
Which
And
is
UK
true
government's
because the
gonna be
Premier
like,
League is it independent or not independent?
It's not independent. It's told by the UK government what to do, and if they don't agree
Hold
with
on.
what they're
Not
doing,
yet.
But that
Not
doesn't make
yet,
sense,
not
Martin.
yet.
Sorry.
well, indirectly,
Martin,
At the
soft
moment-
power,
Martin,
I
but
think.
doesn't
You
make
sleep at night, Martin.
Guys,
Whatever
let's-
makes you
let me
Hey,
just get
I
this.
wasn't born yesterday. I know how it works.
If that was the case, Martin, the Premier League would not have went against Man City in the beginning.
Well, they have to if they want to have
Why
some
do you think
kind of
about it now instead of
facade of
thinking about it?
competitive sport.
It depends why the Premier. I mean, and this will come down to what
None of
this
you
case
even know
is
who's
about.
actually charged
The
us.
Premier City believe that the Premier League took action because they were pressured by Manchester
big clubs.
United,
Okay.
Arsenal, Liverpool, and
cartel.
Spurs.
I
to do
believe.
it.
So. By the way, I believe.
They
so.
were
By the way,
pressured
Mo,
by
it
them.
was an open
I
letter.
believe so.
No.
I believe Rich in this.
Mo,
I
You know
believe
what?
There was
Rich
an
in this.
open letter, whether Martin down there wants to admit this or not. There was an open letter that was out everywhere. The Daily Mail produced it from Arsenal, United, Liverpool, and Tottenham, straight to Richard Masters. Stop
Which was linked
this
to the press.
now. Stop
Yeah,
this
because they're
now.
watching. They're
So
watching
don't
you
tell
guys
me you had
walk
an
away with the
absolute
league every year,
Oh,
regardless of the
jealous.
rest.
No.
And there was
To
rules
let's-
that didn't
let's
used
be
to have to
quite
happen
clear.
before, because clubs like Newcastle were owned like Mike Ashley, and he could directly sponsor his own club because he had no money and no one cared. But now you guys have found every loophole in the system. You can inject funds however you want. Clubs are going to be
Oh,
like,
man.
well, why are
No,
we
no,
playing by the
but-
rules?
Answer
these
the
guys
question.
are?
No.
Question,
Can I
no,
Can I
no,
just
no.
say? Can I just say
Because
something?
You're talking waffle and don't know facts.
Okay.
Really,
That's-
yeah.
that's not
I
a debate,
can't-
but
When was
anyway.
FFP brought in?
I can't believe I'm going to
After
stick up
Chelsea?
for Matt. I'm going to
Guys,
stick up.
can we get
year?
not
What
talk
year?
over each
Give me
other?
the year.
Not talk over each other.
So
Jamie,
no, 2007, 2008, somewhere around there.
2013.
there was no
When was
FFP
City
then.
taking over, Martin?
No, I think they started working on it, but didn't implement it until later
Yes.
on, right?
So Man City spent the money that time.
I'm
We'll
going
say
to
you
stick.
had 5 years where we could spend whatever we want in the same way United, Liverpool, Blackburn, every other club did.
We didn't.
For
FFP, and it's been proven,
140
came in
years.
because you 5 clubs wrote to the FA with a nice little letter, wrote to the Premier League going, please stop this. Stop it however you can. Well,
So they're allowed to write letters. They don't have control. They can give their opinion.
So I'm not going to talk about like this is.
well, it's
nothing
all
to
right
do-
to have votes on rules in it by the clubs.
James,
They wrote a letter,
guys, can we get? I want to get Jamie's point across, please.
So I'm
Go
not
ahead,
going to
Jamie.
talk about the 115 because this is a totally different, separate matter. This is 2 different matters right now, yeah. But do we look at Man City like the bad guys too much? Because I was listening to everyone there, and I was listening to people actually talking about the Glazers there. Why are no one really coming for them? They are arguably the biggest frauds as owners in this league because all they've done is take money out of a football club and destroyed that football club within 10 years. City's owners have come in and made them the best team in Europe in 10 years. So I don't, Look, could FSG? I'm a Liverpool fan. Could FSG do more to compete with Man City? Of course they could. Do they want to? No, because they're thinking about profit margins more than they're thinking about success.
The stock price.
And what City's owners are not doing, they don't need profit at this moment in time. They just want success. So yes, is it difficult to go against a team that doesn't really think about profit at the moment, just success? Of course it is. It's all difficult. Everyone knows that, right? But that doesn't mean you should do better as yourself. I look at everyone I've been listening all the time. I look at all the clubs in the Premier League. The Premier League is too rich. A lot of teams would rather finish 17th in the Premier League than win the FA Cup because that gives you more money. Yeah. That's the problem. It's not City. Look at the fundamental problem of English football. It's the Premier League.
But that's what makes the Premier League.
Can I go one
step?
Yeah,
go ahead.
I think the fundamental problem with English football isn't the Premier League; it's the Champions League, because the Champions League gives the clubs in the Champions League probably about 150 to 200 million in TV sponsorship and everything else. So if you're one of the 4 clubs in the Champions League, the next season you get 150 million head start. Now, whatever FFP, PSR, whatever it is, until it's anchored to the wages of the lowest club, that gives you a head start. So basically, Platini actually had probably some quite idealistic ideas for FFP when he first brought it in, but the G14 clubs took FFP in Europe, and the 4 clubs that were in the G14 from England took it for England and basically said, well, actually, your rules say that we can't have debt because debt's what bankrupts clubs, but actually Barcelona and United and some of those clubs have huge debt, and they want huge debt because that's how they make money. So let's get rid of the debt rules because So let's make, how much you spend based on how much you earn, right? That sounds fair. So that the clubs who are in the Champions League, in most European leagues now, I think in Spain, the same 3 clubs, it's 11 seasons or something now, that Atletico, Barcelona and Real Madrid have been in the Champions League. Bayern, it's, decades that they've been, in the Champions League. In England, even though we probably have the most competitive big league, we've still had, only, I think 6 clubs have taken about 95% of the Champions League spots from the Premier League in that history. And what a surprise, if you look at the Premier League now, the top 3 are 3 clubs who, for most of the last 15, 20 years, have been getting the Premier League money. United are a special rule to themselves because they've actually spent more than City on transfers and on salary most seasons for the last decade and have still managed to be rubbish. They've outspent, everyone. I think the only club getting close now is Chelsea. And Chelsea, when City won the league in 14 and 12, Chelsea were the biggest salary spenders at that time. So the money City spent isn't dwarfing all the other clubs. It's just equal with them. And those clubs feel
that's what I fight all
that
the time.
City shouldn't be allowed to be equal. We're not spending double United on players or double their wages. At the moment, we're spending less on players and less on wages than United. But that somehow is cheating because
you can get a football squad to a level where it's like so much value is built into it as an asset that you can continuously sell and run We
started as a mid, when Mansour came in, we started as a mid-table Premier League team.
Yes,
I think
then you bought Robinho, Adebayor, and you bought.
We just come 9th.
Yeah,
United were the best team in Europe. Since then, United have spent more than City, and City have overtaken them. Now,
hold on.
Is that
City being unfair,
I'm sorry.
Or is that United being incompetent?
I am sorry, Rich. I gotta stop you here. But that's the whole case. This is what people talk about. That fact that you said, and listen, people, this is gonna be very important. What I'm about to say, okay? That is the case, Rich. That you did not spend as much as the other ones, but you overtaken them. What they are fighting you on is that they're saying that's not true. You actually outspent us, but you didn't report them. That is the 115 charges.
No. The 115 charges It's that our revenue was too high.
Yeah.
So-
No.
so
But Jordi,
That
can I?
is
Can I?
not that isn't
No, but hold
affecting
on,
what we
Rich.
spent.
Okay, let me get that right. The case, and this is why the case of Man City is different than Everton and Nottingham Forest, and I explained this many times. Nottingham Forest and Everton said, listen, we overspent and we couldn't get the revenues, right? So we are short. And so we broke the law. We broke the rules, right? We fell short. Here you go. Man City, the Premier League, one of the charges is that you did not report some spendings. That means, right, your revenue is not reported correctly. For example, if I am a company and I got an income from Jamie and I did not report that Jamie gave me 50 million, but I still went and spent the 50 million somewhere, but I did not report that 50 million, right? If Jamie has 50 million,
I'm waiting for that money back, Mo, by the way.
Yeah. That's the difference. So the notion that you're saying that Man United outspent you, right?
No,
That is
no,
correct
that-
on the paper, Rich. Unless I'm
No,
understanding the charges
to
as a
correct you,
clear thing.
the-
Yeah, go ahead.
No, the charges are about the revenue. They're not about they're not saying that City's salaries weren't what City said they were, except for two charges which are for less than $1 million. They're about 1.5 million a year, where they're saying that Mancini had a consultancy arrangement for a couple of clubs in the Middle East, which he got paid less than £1 million for. So materially irrelevant to it. What they're saying in the charges is that City's sponsorship of 80 million or whatever it was, and it varied by year, it grew, for Etihad was not really that high. So that's what they're saying. So it's not about what City spent. And what the clubs would then say is, well, that means that City should have spent less.
Yes.
City should have only been able to spend half what United did, and therefore anything they've achieved is because they've had a gain over United by being able to spend more than half United did. Now, how can you have a fair competition that says United can spend twice what City do?
Because
That's not
United
sport.
earned their
That's a
positions.
fix.
Hold on.
No,
I
they
am
didn't.
reading.
United
Hold
earned
on.
their
Can I comment, Martin?
By-
I'm just reading.
by
I'm reading. I'm
injection
reading.
of
I'm
cash.
reading. I'm reading
By
something.
injection of cash.
One of the charges is, this is it. One of the charges. That's not me. Overstating sponsorship income and hiding true source of revenue.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
literally
Revenue.
means what I'm saying.
No. I'm talking about cost, the salaries.
Yeah,
This is about revenue, the
but I'm
income.
talking about.
Yeah,
but that,
they're
okay,
the opposite.
Rich.
Yeah.
But the revenue here is like hiding the true sources of revenue. That means this
Yeah.
revenue should not have been at your club.
But revenue's irrelevant. Revenue doesn't.
The revenue
we
is what
could have
allows you to spend.
No.
Rich.
No.
Revenue
no,
is what
you
allows you to spend.
If you
Not
have
okay.
to be
Can I give
profitable,
another?
yes.
Can I give another one of the charges? And by the way, I am not these charges. I don't know if City are guilty or not until they are proven guilty. They are innocent. Okay. Not giving full details of player wages. That means you could have. I'm just giving an example here, and correct me if I'm wrong. That means I am paying Martin here.
That was specifically one player, Yaya Toure, and it was about $500,000 in image rights or something going overseas. It was not a material. It was not a material transaction, and a number of clubs, 3 or 4 clubs have already been pinged in that time for their image rights by the UK taxman. I think was it Bergkamp who was it? But no, maybe it wasn't. But one of the big London stars back in the day got pinged because of image rights and
thank you. I didn't know that, for example. Thank you, Rich. I didn't know that.
So, for example, and might be the wrong player. So, not.
Yeah, but what I mean is that I didn't know that. Yeah. All what comes in the media is the main charges. The details, like it can be, but that's the point. Like nobody gives us the detail that it can be a 1.5 million of the image right.
Can I just say that we're arguing a little bit about semantics here unnecessarily? Fundamentally, the issue is the Premier League was started as a system which rewards the winner. And everyone was happy to see Manchester United spend crazy because they won. And it was kind of like a reward system. Now, if we want clubs to appear out of nowhere to be able to challenge Manchester United, then the spending rules basically have to not exist. For a club to go from 0 to 100 to compete at the top, there almost has to be no spending limit. It can be like free. That's what Newcastle want right now.
Interestingly, was the case for 130
and then
years of top 5 football. You know, let's be quite honest. Manchester United got where they did primarily because they were in the right place at the right time when the Premier League came in, took money from all other parts of the game to the Premier League. And at that time, Manchester United were part owned by Sky, who were the people who pumped in the entire money that built the Premier League. So if you're talking about
So you're talking about a club that
strange
actually
things
built
going
the
on.
Premier League, then, like Arsenal, like a founding club of what made the Premier League
So
what
were
it is today.
Manchester City were a founding member.
Manchester
No,
City
not on the same level. It
Manchester
wasn't.
City are
No one
older
was
than
watching the
Arsenal.
Premier League for Man City.
Hang on. Do you know where City finished in the third season of the Premier League?
So
Tell
can
me.
I ask you a question?
Oh, okay. Sorry. You don't.
We came ninth. One place
Where
behind
this
Spurs,
bottom
I believe.
club?
No, but no one was watching the Premier League for
I
Man
wanna
City.
I wanna take this to completely
No
different.
one
I
was
wanna do the
watching it
super
for
chat,
Arsenal.
guys.
They were watching it
I'm
for
just
Arsenal versus United. That was the whole
Not
thing.
in,
That
not
made
in
the
the
Premier
early
League
90s.
massive.
Not in the early 90s.
I must admit, I'm just
Late
enjoying.
90s, early 2000s.
I'm enjoying, you know, having lived in Australia for 20 years, and Australia with the tall poppy syndrome and really believing in equality. I'm loving an Australian sitting, supporting that aristocrats should remain rich and that no one
No,
should
it's
be able
just
to challenge them.
it's
You know,
the reward
maybe
structure that they
we
built
should
into
only.
the game,
Yeah.
and
So
it shouldn't matter where I'm
it's
from.
not
Or
reward. It's not reward. It's not reward structure. It's being in the right place at the right time. United had injections of cash in that time.
I'm gonna
Liverpool
say
only got
something
to
here.
where they were.
the English
Arsenal only
league
got to
Sorry,
wasn't the
guys.
best league in
Guys,
the
I want to
world.
say,
Injections of
I'm
cash.
gonna say something. I want to do super chats, guys. There's about 1,000 people here watching us on this debate.
No one cares
guys.
about Manchester City.
And no one cared about Man City. Guys, we really can get to 500 likes. There is at least 600 of you. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. You can get me to 21,500, right? I'm trying to reach 25 in less than a year on this channel, which is going to be unprecedented before. Please, guys, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. The more you like, the more people are going to watch. I'm going to do the super chats, right? I'm going to do the super chats because there are some related. But before that, I want to say something. Some of the things that people say that they didn't want Man City to compete, I think Man City made the Premier League better in terms of like an extra team that can win. The problem is they wanted too much in the last 7 years.
Yeah,
That is the problem.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, it's the problem is I'm telling you, if Man City won it once, lost it once, if Liverpool won the 2 titles, nobody would be here sitting talking about this.
Do you know?
The problem is Man City won it a lot of times.
Do you know, can we go one thing here? Manchester
But
United.
I want to get the super chat. Can it
were
wait a little bit?
goals. Yeah, 3 goals off 9 consecutive Premier League titles. United were 3 goals from 9 consecutive Premier League titles in the 90s.
And who stopped them?
And by the way, Rich, at that
Yep,
time, people didn't
Arsenal.
like him.
That's
By the
why
way,
I supported them.
I'm gonna
Because they
say
were
something.
standing up to the
No
Giants.
one in the world like Man United dominated the league in the 90s, by the way. Man City fans, Martin always, me and Martin said, but it wasn't the Farmers League. It was, Martin. It was. Nobody cared about the Premier League at that time because of Manchester United, because it's not competitive. Only people cared about Man United when they went to the Champions League, and Arsenal came to the picture with Arsene Wenger, the Thierry Henrys, and the Bergkamps. Now people started actually looking, oh, there is a competition here. The only thing it was, to be honest with you guys, and I was 10 years old, and I lived in Saudi Arabia. Do you know the Premier League meant 2 things only in the 90s? Manchester United and Alan Shearer.
Yeah.
That's it.
Spot on.
That's the Premier League. It's Alan Shearer and that. And
But you
and
admitted
Manchester.
to not started watching
and the
since
Professor.
2003,
not,
right?
not religiously, Martin. Not like every game because it wasn't on TV, but there was shows in Saudi Arabia when I was a kid.
Yeah, it set up a framework for these clubs to become global brands, and it really it gave them a structure that let them be rewarded and grow faster than all the other clubs in Europe. That's why their Premier League is so dominant now. So I think that Manchester United were winning by sporting merit. Now we have to find a structure which means that smaller clubs can come.
Let me do the super chats then, and then we go on. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for everybody sent the super chat. If you want your opinion across, and then we're gonna discuss them. Seems to me that the FA handicapped their clubs. Is that so? Has everybody seen that? Like, does anybody see this case or this lawsuit as the Premier League is going against the club?
Any kind of rules will be seen as like a way of handicapping the clubs. Like if you're trying to restrict spending in any way.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, they're going against some of the clubs, and some of the clubs will support it. I mean,
Donny Liverpool.
that's the reality.
Donny Liverpool saying non-democracy trying to destroy a voting process that's been in place 30 years. That is actually disgusting. City fans should be embarrassed.
No, I'm
Not
going
at all.
to. City have disagreed with the voting. The trouble is, and then you get the, well, you don't like it, leave. There's nowhere else to go. It's
It's a bit like if
the
someone,
majority are tough shit, don't play football.
if someone pulls a knife on me and says, give me your wallet, I'll, probably be giving them my wallet. Now, I'll be giving them my wallet voluntarily, but it doesn't mean it was fair and right that, I have
So
to do
we've
that.
got a knife to you guys. Is that the analogy?
No.
Well, no. I think the 4 clubs have been effectively changing the rules every season to stop that competition, because I genuinely think there are elements of the supporters at certain clubs who think they have a divine right to be top 4, that the rules should be built so that they're always in the top 4 and that no one should be able to come and compete with them, which is
Brother,
what
I was 8th and 5th,
Yeah.
and I've lived a hard life.
But the problem is,
There's no collusion between these big cartel clubs that you guys paint.
why
Guys,
do you get
guys,
together for
we can
lunch
debate this
and
later. I need
write
to go
notes?
through, guys. I need to go through the
Right,
super chat
right.
so we can move on. We can move on.
Disingenuous, man.
Just short responses.
I'm not being disingenuous. You guys are pretending you can't invest in your women's team and your community because of the rules.
Don't say there was no collusion when you all wrote a letter.
No, look, we don't like each other. We wrote a
Premier League.
letter. That doesn't mean that. Anyway, I'm going to let Mo finish his super chat.
But you,
Go on, Mo.
Okay. E-Ink is saying, when was the last time City's owners put money? That's the thing. They built a sustainable business that they don't need to pump money in.
Except for all the other clubs that they own. Except for all the other clubs that they own around the world.
illegal.
But what does it have to do with it, Martin?
Because it avoids
Can you
any kind
explain
of
to
like
me?
accounting system. You can get a player to one of your sister clubs, buy it, and then you can loan them to Man City for nothing. Like, it's a way of getting around.
Yeah, hold on. But the Premier League already voted.
that.
Hold on. But the Premier League voted against that, and it's done. This law, Man City cannot loan a player from a sister club. By the way,
No. But they can buy a player in a French
Hold
league.
on,
and
hold
then
on.
Can you tell me?
Every
can you
transfer
tell
has
me-
to be like overseen by the FA about whether they're
But
going to
it
pay.
is every
It was
player.
for Savio.
Martin, there is a law now that every transfer has to be assessed and it has to be fair market value. Actually,
Yeah, okay. So who decides that, right?
it's the Premier League voting.
It's the Premier League, and
clubs.
they don't want the Premier League to decide that. They want to be able to say this player cost $5 million and it was really a $50 million value player. It's a way of getting around the rules. I mean, every club tries to get around the rules. It's normal.
Yeah. Here's a question for you though: how many of these loan players have helped us win our titles?
And when was the last time we did it?
By the way, Rich, I'm sorry, Rich. That's a very weak argument. I'm sorry, because
Well, no, but it's not.
I'm gonna tell you why, and then you can respond to me, right?
Yeah.
If you tell me about how many players, it doesn't matter if it's one player or 2 players. If there is one player that has been done wrong, even if that player is a cone in the training ground, that doesn't make it right.
So
that
you've
makes
done it
sense.
once.
What I'm saying,
Like your
what I'm saying
Rich,
is,
your
there
response
is
to Martin
no
is that how
one-
many players helped us win the league, but that shouldn't be the response.
No. What I'm saying is that
You get my point,
it's
right?
It's theoretically true, but it hasn't been used at all to help City win anything that we've
Frank
won.
Lampard didn't win us the league, mate.
The first, we've really used
Whether
it
you
with
like that
Frank,
or not.
with
You
Frank
literally know what you're
Lampard.
doing, right? You
Frank
guys
Lampard
admitting that
is
it's
not very-
wrong, and we're
I don't
doing
think it matters
but it
about the
doesn't help.
player. I think that like you can use a financial, you can bring someone into your youth setup and then sell that youth player, and that helps you, FFP, PSR your way into buying someone bigger. There's a lot of ways, and it's not Man City specific. Like watching Chelsea sell Cobham to themselves or their own hotels to themselves is blatant
They deny
cooking
that.
the books in front of our eyes. But like,
They deny that.
if you stand
Well,
up to it,
you're gonna
everyone's like,
go
well, why are you part of the big cartel? Why do you hate people like, coming up?
Do you know,
Okay,
FSG
Mansour, 15 plus.
have the
Can I
same
do
thing,
that?
But never mind, it's on a smaller version.
Mansour, Habibi, thank you so much for being a member for 1 month. Mansour is from Emirates. 15 plus clubs are owned by billionaires, but few are truly trying to win the Premier League. Mansour, being owned by a billionaire is different than being owned by the Saudis or the Emiratis, and you know why. Even these billionaires, they don't pump their own money into the club. At the end, there is audits, there are companies, there is this and that. It's different, Mansour. If you are going to talk about politics, talk about the American petrol dollars and unlimited printing of money, but Gulf states are the problem. What?
But there's
What-
no
what is this-
racism.
What is this? What does this have to do with it?
There's no racism.
I don't know.
It's
I
not
don't.
Gulf
Ink,
states
I
specifically,
didn't
it's
understand
oil,
what is this
not
super
oil.
chat has to do with it. Sorry, I didn't understand what is this. The difference between the Gulf and America, the American owners are themselves. The Gulf people are actually their states, the state money. This is the difference. And I'm Arab, and I lived in Saudi Arabia, and I want the Arabs to succeed. To be honest, because I'm biased.
Yeah, mind you, mind you, Mo. If you actually look at the US, most of the US government is owned and paid for by the billionaires.
100%.
So I wouldn't say it's quite as
It's paid by the
clean as people.
taxpayers' money, and you know that it's
Well,
paid.
you know, yeah. The
And
whole
at the end,
the
it's
whole of
run by the
Congress and-
senators and the billionaires. It's run by the money makers. At the end,
Yeah,
it's run by the
they're
money
all
makers.
owned by people.
Don't blame City if you're. This is the thing. Don't blame City if your club has no ambition. That's what Martin and Jamie are pushing against. It's not like the Arsenal are ambitious. Arsenal built a whole stadium. That is ambition.
Paid
Yeah,
for it.
and-
By the
look-
way, that is
And
ambition.
look, and this sums up money. Arsenal finally, 4 years ago, decided they were going to spend to compete, and look at how much they've improved. You know, they have improved in all aspects by spending money, and yeah, for that period, the wage gap between City and Arsenal, I think, going back to the treble season,
But you know
closed
that the
by
wage
over
gap
100
neck is a
closed
lot,
by
right?
over 100 million. It closed by over 100 million between the treble season and the season.
And we're
just
still
gone.
half of
Yeah,
you
but
guys.
you know
No,
your
you-
wage
you
bill is
know-
way higher
know
than them.
about-
You guys know that.
It's about they Arsenal are probably about 85% of cities now. They were about half the year before. Now, part of that was because we had to pay, I think, about 40
Actually,
million or
no.
something
Your
in
wage bill
bonuses.
officially is 400 plus million. Their wage bill is
Yeah.
240 million.
No, that was the season before Arsenal, and they've
This is last
with
season,
Rice
Rich. I
and
think so.
Saka.
It is released.
Okay, well, we'll go and check. I'm pretty sure Arsenal's is now about
Maybe I'm not sure,
80%.
but this is what maybe that was 2020, like maybe that was 2022,
Yeah.
2023. Maybe I don't know.
It was, yeah.
Donny-
They were about 200
Yeah,
million
but
behind
that
us.
is a lot.
Yeah.
Donny
It's
LFC said,
huge.
if rules are stopping small clubs proceeding, what did they vote for them? City fan is the voice of the small clubs. Explain. I'm gonna let Martin or Marty or Rich explain that.
There's a really big fear in the small. I mean, the Super League and the 6 big clubs going. There's a really big fear for the Premier League, because one thing the Premier League has, which is what should make it the best league in Europe and why it's the best league in the world, is that Premier League money is distributed very fairly. So the bottom club in the Premier League, will get money that probably makes it in the top 30 clubs in Europe for money, because basically you go up by, about 1 million every place, and then you get X million every time you're on TV. So the bottom club in the Premier League still getting well over 100 million now, I think. So whereas in most European leagues, Spain had a thing where Barcelona and Real Madrid got like 75% of the entire
Yeah.
league's money, and so
do.
that's why the Premier League was good. The thing that damages it is that if the same 4, 5, 6 clubs always get the Champions League, then they get a massive head start. Now, the ways you could solve it, would be spread between the 18 clubs or the 16 clubs who aren't in it, and half goes to the clubs who are in it. Or, you look at other ways to try and stop the Champions League money damaging the league. And the irony is, and we're all guilty as, that Liverpool, Arsenal, City, we're all guilty on this.
I'm not
No,
guilty.
that's what I'm saying. You're into Milan, I was told. So you're in the clear. But those clubs nearly threatened to go and join the Super League, because having the Champions League money is not enough for them, because they want more money from the smaller clubs in the Premier League. So now overseas TV contracts aren't split fairly across the league.
yeah.
So everything is about, and City's in this now, so I'm not pretending
About money.
that we're in a
Little
slum.
old City.
Everything is about, we want all of the money in football for us. The Premier League was about taking it away from 70 clubs and concentrating it on, I think we started at 22 in the Premier League.
Yeah.
The Champions League was about more money to the top 4, and it's not even champions anymore, because, there's clubs who want more money. So everything has been about taking money out of all the lower echelons of the game and concentrating it into the 5 or 6 clubs, of which
Is it
City's
about
now
taking
one.
money?
Can I do?
You're generating that money,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I do
Let
want to.
me say thank you, Kilchester, for the big donation, for the big super chat. Appreciate you. Belated end of the season. Thanks for the entertainment. United got where they were due to the outspending everyone in an era without spending limit.
Mhm.
They didn't earn it. Go look at the inflation adjusted fees. Rio nearly 200 million.
It's true.
That's the response to you, Martin.
Well,
You
I
said
think that
about-
they got that money from winning the league. I didn't like it. I think there was two teams in the English leagues with swear words in their name. One was Scunthorpe and one was fucking Manchester United. I think that was the saying because they felt like they were unstoppable, right? So if it comes from sporting merit, you have to decide. If everyone wants a salary cap league and every team with equal amount of money, then you go to the American system, and that's what owners want. The American owners want is a zero risk solution where they just
Can
can't
I
lose
ask you a
money.
question, Martin?
Yeah.
Or you do
What
what
did
football did for
Man
130
United
years.
do? What did Man United do when the Premier League came in, or just before? I think it might have been.
What did they do?
Put all their stocks into Sky, I think.
So
Like
they went on the
Cobble,
stock
got
exchange,
bought by
didn't they,
Sky.
Jamie? They
Yeah,
went
yeah.
public.
Public. That's how
Yeah.
they made
But
their
they
money.
made all
That's
their
how
money,
United
Martin,
got a head
from,
start.
So you see,
Yeah.
you need this is where the kickback comes, because
It didn't
wasn't
come
done
from
too well.
external investment, though. It came from building the league into something bigger, right?
Went on the stock exchange and they had investment from Sky. Who were going to run the league? Come on, mate. This is what we're trying to say.
Hey, look, I didn't love it.
This is
That's
not
why I
United
supported
won the
Arsenal. I
league.
wanted to stop them. I just don't want
Let's
any
stop
team.
this.
I don't want any team having a series of dominance that's like a whole decade. And you guys are nearly there, and it's hard to swallow. You guys coming and saying,
do you know what,
we
Martin,
should be able to
out of
do
more
whatever we want.
respect, if people just came out and went, you know what, City winning all the time, we're bored of it.
Yeah.
I get it.
And if
they
you guys
just-
like
just went,
Mo,
"Look at our
like
books,"
me.
it's
No,
fine.
no, let me
Investigate it.
Like me.
you know where it
I
pisses
say
people
I'm
off?
tired of City winning the league. I want someone else.
No, that I get it. But where it pisses people off is, and people laughed at the City, talking about the Gulf sponsorship and everything else and the xenophobia. I remember Liverpool. Sorry, Jamie, this is not at you. Let's go back 6 months ago when
It's
the
against
Qataris
them,
wanted to take over Liverpool. I was watching huge Liverpool fans changing their profile pictures to the Qatari flags because they were begging for it. I saw United fans tell me, by the way, some of my best friends said, you dirty oil, Arab money, blah, 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 at me all the time. And I'm like, okay, what happened when Saudi or wherever it was going to take over United? Again, changing all the profile pictures. We're going to buy all these play. What it is when it doesn't happen to you, you're upset. But when you get that glimpse of an opportunity, you're throwing at it like you've not had a bone in a while. You're grabbing it with both hands.
I don't want to be owned by Qatar. I thought it was the whole thing was disgusting. It should be
I'm
like
telling you now,
it should be sporting merit.
Majority of your fan base will jump all over it.
Quick question for you.
You're sponsored, by the way. Who sponsors you?
Yeah.
Emirates. Who
We're
sponsors you?
sponsored by an airline, yeah.
Where are they from?
That's owned
They're
by a
from the
state.
Middle
let's
East.
go
Martin is not against the Arabs themselves.
No,
You're
I've got
saying
no
about
issue with the
everyone
Arabs.
I don't know
You're
why
getting
people
that money.
think.
Where it's
Hold
from.
on.
We're
Martin,
not
there are
owned.
two ways, guys, hold on. There are two ways, and I'm just saying that there are two ways. Okay, of looking at this situation, there is the people like Martin who doesn't care about Arabs or non-Arabs, but care about where the money is coming from and how the money and the fairness. And there are people, which is blatantly, that just don't want the Arabs in their football league. That's different. They don't want anyone else.
Either.
That's different.
Chelsea.
Do you get my point?
Oil sources.
And it's completely different. And we aren't going there. Because that's, you know what I'm talking about. The people that say, you don't want the Arabs. You don't want the Arabs. I want the other people. I want people that match my culture to own the clubs, which is racist.
I just don't get why you want to, and I don't think this is City now because we've had the dream, but why do you want to kill the football dream for everyone else? Because, I look at, I grew up, I'm probably older than all you guys. I grew up in the 80s with an amazing Liverpool team. Now, that Liverpool team was built by Shankly when effectively someone came in and said, Everton for most of the last 80 years have been the more successful team in Liverpool. but we want to make Liverpool successful and invested money, broke records when not even in the top flight, to build a team that came up from the second division, then the Championship now, into the top flight, and bought great players. Not because of long-term money in the bank, but because someone was allowed to invest. And when they invested, more people came and went to the games, more sponsors came, and Liverpool grew. And when I was, 10 years old, 8 years old, watching Dalglish and Keegan had been there, it was an amazing team. And then Liverpool became football aristocracy because of that investment. For Arsenal, it happened in the 30s. Money came in, new money was invested. I think it was 3 records, broken transfer fees in 28, 29, 30. And Herbert Chapman then, with a team acquired from around the country of great players, made Arsenal into what it is today. Arsenal before that hadn't been a huge club, but they became a
you're
huge
saying
club
we only did that
because of investment.
outspending everyone, or is it because of sporting
Yeah,
merit?
because of outspending everyone.
Right.
Liverpool got to where they did because
It was
you
like
only get
£12 in the
sporting merit.
1930s. Like, what are we talking about here?
Would
It
you
was
say
like-
though? Would you say
Yeah,
though? Right now,
yeah.
Manchester City are spending the money they have now because of sporting merit.
They are now
Because they've won
it's fair
everything.
to say.
No,
in
but they spent it before
2008
they had the merit.
But
Yeah.
I'm all right with people spending
but
money
that's-
if they've
that's
got
what
it.
Arsenal
This is
did.
the
Rules for
problem.
the
That's what
first
Liverpool
No,
did.
Yeah, it's the
Look,
problem.
look
If
at
you've got the
Tottenham,
money,
right?
spend it.
Tottenham have managed to build themselves into a top 10 club in the world financially, and they haven't won a single thing.
But
All you have to do
Martin,
is
you're
be
not- you're
there
not-
and be smart with your money and
They
not
didn't win.
waste it.
There
Yeah,
was
but
no
that's
rules for the first
that's not
5
sporting
years.
merit. That's not
Can I
sporting
just say?
merit. That's
Can I
owning
just
a
say the
very
thing that no one
wealthy-
wants to say? Can I just say the thing no one wants to say?
Don't say it, Jamie.
No one's owners does enough to win things. It's as simple as that.
I've
Well, it
said
depends
that.
if you
He
stay
gets
within
over
the
the
rules.
bias.
It's as
This is
simple
all
as
about
that.
sticking to the
No,
rules.
no, I'm not on about the rules. I think there's more money to
Sticking to the
spend.
rules.
I literally do think there is more money to spend. If Arsenal went out and bought a striker in January, they would have probably won the Premier League, but they didn't want to. They
Yeah.
could have done more.
We bought Rice. If we
Everyone-
hadn't bought
everyone-
Rice, we could have. I mean, how
everyone-
much can you spend?
Everyone could. You could spend it. You've got it. It's available.
No, you can't. We had to loan our goalkeeper for $3 million and
You've
not
got
pay the
money
whole
to
contract
spend.
because
You've
of
got money to
PSL.
spend.
Martin, can I
Everyone
ask you a
has.
question?
Everyone has.
Aren't you still bitter in 2009 when we took all your best players off you? Is that what you're upset about still?
It's more about like Chelsea coming in and just destroying the league financially, and then you guys
But there was no
following
rules.
suit, and
But-
Newcastle wanting to do the same.
But no, Martin, you said 3 times on this show it's about playing the rules.
Mhm.
And I've said it 3 times. There was no rules when Chelsea and City got taken over. There was
Right.
no limits on spending.
And it was
Right.
disgusting.
But there was no.
But,
so was
but
it
why?
discussed
So,
in
so are you
1993
horrified?
when
Are you
United won
horrified?
the league by spending all their money?
Are you horrified by the fact Arsenal,
This is why we
built
kick back. 'cause
its
It's double
existence
standards.
as a club by spending money, in investing money from outside in its ground, in record players? Arsenal are only where they are today because they did it. Liverpool are only where they are today because they did it.
I
Why
can't
was
really
it
talk about
right?
something that was 100 years ago. I mean, I know
But-
you guys
but-
want to keep. I know we bought our way into the
but
Premier
it's-
League or something through brown envelopes. I
No,
can't
no,
change
first
any of that.
division.
That was a long
George
time
First
ago.
division.
Gray with the brown envelopes.
We're heritage. We're
Manager.
heritage.
Who's your
cheaters,
manager
okay?
with
You
the
can-
brown
you can pin
envelopes,
that up.
Martin?
But
Sign
that-
this player. Sign this player. Brown
No,
envelope.
but like I don't want to play by the rules if everyone else aren't playing by the rules. Either have no rules and we can all spend whatever we want, or this facade of rules
Well, I
which
agree
only a
with
couple of
that.
teams
Yeah,
pay
no,
attention
100
to.
There
no
needs to
one
be a
will
proper
disagree
rule
with
put
that.
in place. I agree.
Every
I think it
team,
should be like a bond. There should
I
be a
need
bond
to-
for owners.
I need to finish this. We didn't get to speak about Arsenal. We didn't get to speak about Liverpool,
Yeah.
which is
Oh, you're
we
sad
probably
about that.
might do it Friday or Saturday if everybody here has time. Talk about the football because I need to do the super chats because I got a show in 5 minutes. Mansoor, thank you, Habibi. The louder the chorus of doubters, the sweeter the melody of your triumph. That's a great. To be honest, a great super chat. Thank you so much, Mansoor, for that. 4 clubs, 18 clubs voted for these rules.
no,
So
14.
I actually, Rich explained why the clubs voted for these rules. And this is the thing about it, Wayne. So thank you so much for super
Oh,
chat. Rich,
sorry.
just explain.
18 clubs voted for the Newcastle rule. I think that is correct, but
Yeah.
only 13 or 14 voted for FFP.
Yes. Tevin, so it doesn't help you to win the league yet. It's all good. What I am hearing, it helps them to win the league. If they broke the rule, it helped to win the league. It's very simple. By the way, any small business that is illegal just helps. Chelsea paying. I'm just going to give the simplest example. If Chelsea, if a club, not Chelsea, if a club pays a physio under the table, right, and not included in the review, and that physio healed one player, it helped them win the league. Am I wrong here to say that? Is that the wrong statement? Does anybody think that's the wrong?
That's
One
fair.
thing. That's it. So anything that is illegal, it's included in your finances. It might have been the difference to you buying that player or not. I'm not saying you're guilty or not, Man City guilty or not. I'm just giving an example. Wayne is saying Arsenal spend what they earn. That's Martin's argument, that Arsenal only are allowed to spend what they earn. But we still earn a lot of money with. I don't know. I'm not a financial advisor.
How much does everyone want to spend? This is what I don't get. It's like Arsenal just spent 600 odd million last couple of years or whatever it is. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, well, we've got to build a team now to keep up with the top. So it is what it is.
Man City voted against controlling own TV rights because United, Liverpool, and Arsenal earn fortune. They do what suits them. I'm just going to tell you something, Donny. Every club does what suits them. As long as it's legal, it's all right. And the Premier League is trying to close loopholes. Simple. Very simple, by the way. Very simple.
And that's one. That's why, I mean, the TV rights, the best thing about the Premier League is even TV money. So when City have supported, which they did, allowing higher proportion to go to the top clubs from the foreign things, I disagree with that. I like the Premier League's greatest thing is paying a load to the bottom clubs, because that does mean, and I genuinely think that there are not that many games you go to in the Premier League where you don't think we could lose this today. And we've seen it, most seasons. Arsenal, Liverpool, City have gone and lost some games against teams that we think we should beat. I mean, last season Brentford did the double over us, and that doesn't happen in Germany or Spain very often at all.
Did you see that stat, by the way, Mo?
I didn't.
Rich, when City had got the highest percentage increase within the USA, it was like 48%. And then did you see the new superstore that's been opened in Rockefeller Center? Did you see the queues around the block? There was thousands queuing to get in that new City superstore.
That's sporting merit there.
Rockefeller Center. Listen,
I said that the kids.
Nobody knows us.
The kids academy, and you can ask Gondolorian about this. The kids academy in New York. I think there's a queue, right? There's a line for you to get your kid in there.
There's a waiting list.
Yeah, there's a waiting list for you to get your kid in there. That's sporting merit. KB101. Arsenal didn't decide to start spending. They couldn't spend because of the COV agreement.
Covenant.
The covenant
they had
agreement
covenants
financing
about
the
paying
stadium.
certain amounts. Yeah.
Okay, so Arsenal couldn't spend them, so that's different.
Yeah,
so that's what Martin. By the way, that's what Martin is talking about. The Arsenal are still limited in what they can.
I think that there's issues everywhere. Like Spurs make money from Beyonce concerts that they can spend on players. Like that doesn't make sense.
That's what I mean. Is that fair?
NFL.
No.
NFL.
Oh, the NFL.
Are they using their stadium to do that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then that's Tottenham
I think
stadium.
they're allowed to.
So what's wrong with
you
that?
can build a
What's wrong
hotel
with that?
there and make money off the people that stay
If
there.
it's your stadium, if I like say Anfield,
Mine used to want it to be 1992.
Taylor Swift was
I
at
think it should be
Anfield,
about
yeah?
sport. I think
Money
it should be
goes
about
to
what you make
club.
on the pitch,
This
right?
is why I'm saying
not
actually
outside.
all of this should go out of the window.
Football's all
I
about.
actually think this is my opinion about this. There should be a salary cap on the players you have. You can decide to spend all of that on Mbappe's salary or have a team. That's it. That's which is why the new rule, I think it's fair, to be honest, because at the end, if a billionaire can spend that much money, it's up to them. Didn't Liverpool and Newcastle both outspend Man United in the 90s? I didn't know that, RSV. How much did Liverpool spend on the H triangle and Newcastle on Alan Shearer? It's better. I'm not educated in this situation, RSV.
United
I am not.
spent 28 million on Bruyne, 30 million on Ferdinand, 2.5 million.
Yeah,
on
but
Max,
hold on. This is not the
2.5
90s. This
million
is
on-
not the 90s.
Varane.
Guys, in the 90s,
almost 2003.
guys, in the 90s, the majority of the players were actually academy players from Man United.
No, they weren't. No, they weren't.
How?
You go look at that 99 squad. There was
I'm
five.
not educated, but
Out of their
every time I'm
squad,
looking,
out of their squad, there was 5. Dwight York.
that's
was
a
bought-
lot of players from the academy. That's
Dwight
a
York.
team.
Dwight York was bought for 12 million from Aston Villa.
That's half
Season
the team.
before, he'd been the
Players.
Premier League top goal scorer.
Okay.
Andy Cole, 7 million. Yap Stam, bought from Lazio. Fabian Barthez, bought
Yeah,
from
but that's
Monaco.
late 90s. But the
You
whole
go on and go on.
the point is the whole foundation of 92 is built on people that played for Man United and academy players. Am I wrong to say that?
There was 5.
The foundation, but that's a lot. Anyway, I
So
think
you've got 5.
5. The 5
So you've got 5 in
foundation,
their Champions League
5
final.
pillars were from the youth academy.
So
will-
City had to have 5 and United to have 5.
Yogi Thakori saying, I will pull race card when I get speeding ticket. Discrimination. This is crazy. Donnie here, stop talking about Liverpool was a rich club in the 70s as the history of Liverpool as in City 70s. Do not compare what Shankly built to what the state bought. The response to that. I actually think that in
what
the...
he's saying. I get what he's saying. But you still need finances to build anything.
Yes. Donnie, thank you so much. But I think...
Still need finance.
But again, Man City were bought by the sheikhs and they spent the money and they built a fantastic stadium. They actually developed the area. They provided jobs. They got a team that win, like Liverpool. The fact that you had the money from before because you were always in the Premier League, that's different. Like just complete, like. So you don't want City. People don't want City to spend money to build a winning team. I don't get it. JDG say no reason to win when first and fourth. Tim. Well, we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. Listen, I want to thank Rich for being here for the first time. Thank you so much, Rich, for being here. Guys, you can get me to 400 likes now, guys. We're 10 likes away from the 400 likes. Hit that like button underneath the live chat. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. We're only, I think, if I'm not mistaken, less than 12 subscribers away from 21,500. So please subscribe. The subscription button looks like a subscription button. You know what it is called, subscribe. Hit the subscribe. Thank you, Rich. Really appreciate you being here. Thank you, joining all the way from Australia.
Thank you very
Martin,
much.
the Mancunian way. What do you have coming on today, Martin?
What we got going on, Rich? Rich knows. I don't. Tomorrow night we got a show.
Tomorrow night.
And
And
a bit more. If you
Martin,
listen, Rich is my right hand. He knows.
always my guest, Martin, of course, always here supporting the channel and helping me. Thank you, Martin,
Pleasure
for
to
being
be
here.
here.
And Jamie Phillips, his channel is in the description, doing fantastic work. Of course, always telling you the truth and the honest, no glazing, no simping to fans. He's just someone who tells the truth as it is. Stay here, don't go anywhere, because myself and Osam will go with Terry to talk about the charges on the football terrace on straight back.
That'll be a different show, ladies and gents.
You're gonna see another side of me, completely different. We'll see you guys soon. We're out of here, people. Thank you for everybody that watched us. And I think you guys, we are almost, guys, 10 subscribers away. And also, we're almost at 400 likes. Hit that like button. We passed it. We'll see you guys soon. We're out of here, people. See you tonight at 3 p.m., at 9 p.m. UK time when I do transfer shows.